It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the Greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Great to see everybody today. I'm your host, Jake Sheff, back here at the Splash Live. Took a few days off to enjoy some fun vacation with the family, but I'm back tackling all of the great news and the big projects that are taking place right here in Greater West Bloomfield. All throughout the summer, road projects have been underway throughout Oakland County, with some taking place right here in Greater West Bloomfield. With the main stretch of construction now near completion on Orchard Lake Road between Willow Way and Pontiac Trail, and a repaving project being done between Pontiac Trail and Long Lake, focus has been everywhere in our community this summer. Here to tell us more is the Senior Communications Manager for the Road Commission for Oakland County, Craig Bryson. Craig, great to have you with us today.
Good morning. Great to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Good morning to you as well. Now, the RCOC has been invested heavily in major thoroughfare improvements this summer, particularly between Willow Way and Pontiac Trail. What made this stretch such a priority for the commission?
Well, it's the condition of the road, the age of the road, and the traffic volume there. It's been on our radar for quite a while. We've been working on sections of Orchard Lake Road all along the corridor, and this was the next in line and the one that needed it the most at this point.
And along with that work, the repaving project between Pontiac Trail and Long Lake is also underway right now. How would you say these two projects complement each other?
Yeah, actually, from our point of view, it's one big project. We have the same contractor on there. It's designed as a single project. They're just completing the work in segments. So obviously they did the segment south of Pontiac Trail first, and now they're wrapping up the section between Pontiac Trail and Long Lake. So it's designed to be a single continuous project, just conducted in phases.
And many residents have noticed the scale of construction for both of these projects. What would you say are some of the biggest long-term benefits that people can expect once these projects are both completed?
Yeah, this was a major resurfacing project. So the biggest benefit is that there will be new pavement that will last for 20 to 30 years, provide a nice smooth surface there. We did removal of the previous pavement and put down all new pavement there. It'll be have new curb and gutters. ADA compliant crosswalks, so it'll be safer for pedestrians as well, and just generally a road that is now smooth and will last for many years to come.
I'm sure a lot of residents are going to love hearing that. Should make for a smooth ride to work or a fine commute as they go about their day-to-day plans. And road projects like this often involve significant planning. How far in advance would you say these upgrades were scheduled, and what factors go into selecting the timing of these projects?
We really start working on these projects 3 or 4 years, sometimes more, but in this case, probably 3 or 4 years ahead of time. There's a lot of work to line up the funding for these types of projects. There's a lot of design work. In this case, since it wasn't widening, there was no right-of-way acquisition, but that can also be a very time-consuming part of the process. So it's a very labor-intensive process leading up to before the public sees anything out there. As far as the timing of the construction work, in Michigan, we have a limited construction season, which is basically April to November. In this case, we wanted to get this done as close to the start of school as possible. So we started in late April, which is about as early as we can start a major construction project in this climate. And got it going with the goal of getting it done by the end of August. We'll overlap 1 week with the start of school in West Bloomfield, but we wanted to get out of there before we get into September. So that is what is going to happen.
You just hit the nail on the head with something you just said a moment ago, Craig. Back to school season is coming up very, very soon, and some residents have expressed concern about the timing of this work, especially as that quickly approaches. How does the RCOC respond to those concerns?
Yeah, we certainly understand that, and our goal is to do as little construction during school as possible. But there are cases like this where it's simply unavoidable. You know, we started the project as early in the season as we possibly could, wrapped it up as quickly as we could, but still there's a little bit of overlap on each end. Unfortunately, that's simply unavoidable given the amount of time we have to work with in this climate in Michigan and the length of the school year. There is, it takes time to do a major project like this, and there's unfortunately simply no way to avoid a little bit of overlap. Again, we try to minimize that as much as possible. We understand the inconvenience this causes, especially on a major corridor like Orchard Lake Road.
That's right, but I mean, a little bit of overlap isn't too big of a deal, especially compared to what it possibly could be. For those just joining us right now on the Splash Live, I'm talking with the Senior Communications Manager for the Road Commission for Oakland County, Craig Bryson, talking about the current construction projects that are taking place alongside our roads and along the roads throughout Greater West Bloomfield. Now, Craig, how does the Commission balance the urgency of road improvements with the impact on daily commuters, businesses, and school traffic?
Well, we always take that into account. We try to do everything we can. I mean, for example, this road remained open throughout construction. We did not. The quickest thing to do would be to close the road completely and get it done in a shorter period of time. Of course, that would cause, on a road that carries like this 30, 40,000 cars a day, that would cause major inconveniences. So we try to avoid that when possible, and then try to develop the construction plan in such a way that we get it done simply as quickly as possible at the most reasonable price. Because the other side of that equation is we are also stewards of public tax dollars, and the more we tighten down the schedule, the more it's going to cost us to do that project. So we want to find that balance between causing as little inconvenience as possible while costing as little as possible. And that's what we tried to do on this project.
That's right. And it sounds like you've got a lot of good things in place right now to make sure everything is seamless. Now, Craig, once these current projects wrap up, what's next on the horizon for major improvements throughout Oakland County?
Well, in West Bloomfield, we'll be starting another significant project in a couple of weeks. That's the Commerce Road culvert replacement, where we're actually going to have to close Commerce Road between Green Lake Road and Union Lake Road starting September 2nd and running till about the end of September. There's a nearly 100-year-old culvert there that connects Green Lake on the north to Bloomfield Lake on the south that is failing. We need to replace that. So we'll be closing down the road September 2nd, tearing out that culvert, putting in a new culvert. And again, we know that's an inconvenience. Doesn't carry as much traffic as Orchard Lake Road, but certainly still a major corridor in the West Bloomfield area.
That's right, September 2nd. That is a very important date for everybody to remember as they start to plan out their commutes for the next few weeks. Craig, I got one more question before we wrap things up. Looking ahead, how does the RCOC plan to keep residents informed and engaged as more road projects continue to get rolled out?
Great question. We're always trying to do as much as we can to inform the residents on projects like actually both of these projects. We create a flyer that we send out to all adjacent properties. We draw kind of a big circle around the project and send a flyer directly to every homeowner and business in that radius. We use social media. We send press releases out to all of the traditional media and just try to share the word as much as we can. Social media is a big thing these days. We have Facebook, Instagram, X. We post all of our project updates on those. We post updates on our website, and also anyone that wants to can sign up on our website to receive text or email alerts that'll keep them updated on what we're doing.
The information is everywhere. Everywhere you look, you can stay up to date for what's going on throughout Oakland County. Craig, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today here on the Splash Live.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. These road projects are going to be continuing on for a little bit longer, but they should be wrapping up towards the end of the month. And then more work will be taking place all throughout Greater West Bloomfield. As a reminder for everyone watching, the main branch of the West Bloomfield Township Public Library will remain closed for just over a week. This is being done due to multiple renovation projects happening inside the building during this week from August 18th through August 22nd, set to be complete in time for the main to reopen on Monday, August 25th for regular operations. In the meantime, the drive-up window will still have regular service all throughout this week from the 18th to the 21st from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. and from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. service on Friday the 22nd. All that being said, your favorite library services continue at the West Acres branch without interruption. For updates on this project, stay tuned here on the Splash Live or follow the library on Facebook and Instagram at West Bloom LIB. Walk for Friendship, the Michigan chapter, is scheduled for Sunday, August 24th at Friendship Circle's Mere Family Friendship Center in West Bloomfield, with registration starting at 10:30 a.m. The event features a 1.7-mile walk, followed by a free carnival with rides, games, kosher food, and entertainment intended to bring together the community through inclusion and fun. We recently spoke with Bazzi Shemtov, the director and co-founder of the Friendship Circle, to tell us all about this year's event.
Bazzi, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you on. The Walk for Friendship, one of the biggest events of the summer. It's kind of that last march into the late summer and into the early fall for a lot of people in Greater West Bloomfield. It all goes toward a good cause, and that's why there's that lofty goal of raising $1 million during this fundraising effort. Give us the background of why that's the number that the Friendship Circle is aiming for this summer.
You know, every year, every month, there are new programs that have to be started and continued, whether it's programs for our children's division or programs for our You Matter for our teens, or it's a vocational program or life skills for adults with special needs. We turn to you, to our community, to step in once again and be a part of this very special day where we celebrate people with special needs. And that's the time that we say, let's bring in together all of our efforts, large or small, every donation counts, to bring that $1 million so we could continue every day, every week of this upcoming year, the programs that our kids and teens and adults deserve.
And it's really important to note, too, that the $1 million here, like you said, it goes to support ongoing and into next year, these programs continuing, others that may pop up or may be necessary throughout the time. This isn't going into the coffers for a rainy day. This is just the very basics, and I think that's really important for people to understand.
Yeah, it's, if you just come by our camps, we're actually finishing, this week is our last week of our 8-week camp. Mm-hmm. It is mind-blowing to watch the incredible connections and love and friendship that happens between our staff, our volunteers, and of course, our amazing children.
Walk, the number 4, friendship.com is the website if you want to make a donation or sign up for the Walk for Friendship, Sunday, August 24th, beginning at the Farber Soul Center and then moving all the way over to the Mir Center for a celebration as well. The goal, $1 million. They're just approaching $300,000 in fundraising pledged already as of the time that we're recording this interview. So off to a really great start, Bazzi, and I think that goes to show the kind of support that West Bloomfield and surrounding communities have for these programs. You are, as the co-founder of the Friendship Circle, you've had a front row seat to see how this organization has grown and why it's so important to people with special needs and their families all throughout southeastern Michigan. So if you could dive into that a little bit for us and explain how these programs have continued to be not only important to those families, but even more important as our society is complicated in recent years and in recent decades.
I think about our community. I think about West Bloomfield and beyond, our Metro Detroit community, how fortunate we are to have a community that really believes in stepping into the responsibility role of really taking it as their responsibility, their initiative, their charity to say that they want to be a part of it. If a family has a child with special needs, we have hundreds of teens and hundreds of adults that really not only want to come in to be supportive, which we all should want to be supportive and do that good deed. Even more so, they are stepping in because they see the benefit and the beauty of somebody that has special needs. So although the family may have a hard time taking their child, their adult child or their younger child out shopping, out to the movies, out to hanging out in the park, and all of a sudden they have these teens and adults that really truly see their child for who they really are. And that's where we make the community their home. We make the place we make the community safe for their family, for their child, where they know that they belong. And that's actually our motto this year is you matter. It's really telling each one of these families, their children, their adult children, that they matter. And at the same time, like you kind of alluded to, when we're talking to our teens, the teens of today, they realize that they matter. They are a part of what makes the incredible connection and the safe space for these children. They're the ones that make this possible. And at the same time, it's a win-win because our teens absolutely adore the kids. They don't want to leave. I've had some counselors literally crying. I thought something happened, and they are devastated the camp is almost over. So it's just an incredible win-win situation, and I'm so proud to be a part of it and be able to witness it so up close.
And these volunteers, these opportunities, these groups that have popped up over the years that have become staples of the Friendship Circle, they build these lifelong bonds that have a big impact, as you just mentioned, for the volunteers, for camp counselors and other employees of the Friendship Circle. But what's even more important is if they're building those relationships and they're having those sorts of impacts on them, it's certainly having that similar impact on the people that these services are for. And so from your perspective, hearing from families, hearing from these individuals that are participating and benefiting from these programs, just how much of an impact does the Friendship Circle have on individuals and families with special needs here in Greater West Bloomfield and beyond?
You know, I was at the talent show for the adult day camp the last day last week, and one of our adults stood up and looked at the director of the camp and said, "You are my best friend." And she stood up, and she's not one that usually would talk like that. And she gave her a big hug. You're talking about a mom who shared my most famous saying of when we walk into Friendship Circle, it's like walking into a big hug. Friendship Circle is a place where our families can finally feel completely welcomed, not judged, and safe, a place where they could really call home. So anybody that has a child with special needs, come check us out, be a part of it. The walk is a place for everyone. Everyone can feel comfortable. It's a real family event.
And you're really encouraging as people are getting out for the walk and doing their fundraising efforts. It's a team effort across the Friendship Circle organization, the West Bloomfield community, the surrounding area, and the special needs community to raise that $1 million. You're taking some creative license in that also to encourage people in different ways to get out and raise those funds, but also in different ways to bring people in and inspire them to take part in this as well. What are some of the creative methods that the Friendship Circle is encouraging in this particular fundraising effort in 2025?
So we've got families doing many different fundraising events, anywhere from lemonade stands to a pickleball tournament to Pilates. We have so many families really setting up their own mini little fundraisers for their team. And we have random people setting up pages. And like I said, large or small, anybody that brings in every dollar counts. Every dollar is going to add to that special experience for that child, teen or adult that has special needs, and as well our incredible teen volunteers and adult volunteers that gain so much from this experience. So if you go to walkforfriendship.com, you can start a page, you can donate, or just volunteer and be a part of the incredible experience.
Yeah, and they got a leaderboard up there too, a little friendly competition also. If you look at it, some of the top walkers, some of the top teams raising tens of thousands of dollars already for the Friendship Circle. The Believers already in the lead with just over $22,000 raised, closely followed behind by Johnson Girls on Fire in a close competition for second and third place with Adult Program All-Stars, both nearing $15,000. These are significant efforts that are being put in by volunteers, Bazzi, and what do you think that says about the commitment that the community has to helping this organization and helping the people, most importantly, that it benefits every day?
It's like we have hundreds of partners of people that truly are passionate, excited, and care just like we care. We have people that truly look at these children as shining stars, and they want to be a part of it. Of course, every single program needs more and more shining stars. So we so appreciate everybody's effort and love having the more partners, the better, to make this world, like you said, a better place. It brings some positivity, good energy, and a little bit of light dispels a lot of darkness. So we've got our work cut out for us, and we welcome everyone to join us.
Just at the corner of Walnut Lake and Drake Road, Sunday, August 24th. Registration opens at 10:30 a.m. if you'd like to participate in the walk. But the fundraising effort is already underway. All of that information, all those resources you may need to get involved and more, walk4friendship.com. And of course, you can also find them on Facebook at FC Michigan. Bazzi, before we let you go, this is open to everyone, not just people that are already involved with the Friendship Circle or have family members or other loved ones that are in these programs. So if people want to participate, what do you believe is the best first steps for them to take?
Correct. This is actually a pure free event. We want the entire community to feel welcome, and we encourage everyone to join. It is good to go on. We give free t-shirts. Go on to register at walkforfriendship.com. If you could give a donation, that is awesome. If you could fundraise, that's even better. But we want the entire community to join us at walkforfriendship.com. Register, make a team, whatever suits you, and come be a part of it.
Have a little fun, too. It's a 1.7-mile walk. You don't necessarily have to be part of the full 1.7 miles, but there's a carnival, there's activities, really friendly people along the way as well. It's great to get involved in that. Bazzi, thank you so much, as always, for your time, and best of luck with the Walk for Friendship this summer.
Thank you so much. Have a great week.
Walk for Friendship is sure to be a very, very fun day in West Bloomfield, and Civic Center TV will be out there to capture all of the magic and to hear from great individuals to hear their thoughts on Walk for Friendship. The Keego Optimist Club is gearing up for its annual Stake Out fundraiser that's happening Thursday, September 4th at the Oakland County Sportsman's Club in Clarkston. Guests can enjoy an evening of food, fun, and community support with an optional skeet shooting event at 4 p.m., followed by a delicious dinner at 5:30. With raffle prizes, auctions, and sponsorship opportunities, the Stakeout not only brings people together for a memorable night, but also raises vital funds for scholarships, literary initiatives, and youth programs that benefit kids all across the community. Bill Bertakis of the Optimist Club joins us right now on the Splash Live to tell us more. Bill, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning.
Good morning to you as well. Very, very excited to hear about the Stakeout that's happening in just a few short weeks. For those unfamiliar, can you tell us about the history of the Optimist Club's Stakeout and how it became such a signature event?
I think it's about 5 or 6 years ago, with COVID and that, pause everybody had. I'm having a hard time keeping track of years. But one guy was a member there, and he said that they always have fundraisers there. And we did it, and it was a great value for your meal. And a lot of people had fun skeet shooting, and a lot of new people enjoyed it. And so much that they joined the club. So I don't know, I think it's about the 6th year, and it's one of our main fundraisers that, we have through membership. You have seed money and then you use some of the seed money to raise money. And the biggest one is the stakeout. So you have dinner for $35, and that's gone up a little bit like everybody else. And then for additional $15, you go skeet shooting, and they supply the guns, they supply the ammo, they give lessons. And, it's just not a few shots. You get like 8 shots across 8 different areas. And they give prizes too for people there. And I don't know, it's just a lot of fun. And you cook your own steak by yourself on a wood grill, and you cook it yourself. And they have all the fixings there. And when you're done cooking your steak, you can get chicken as well. And you get a baked potato, vegetables, salad, rolls. There's desserts like cookies, and that's included coffee, tea, and soft drinks. So.
Wow, you are really painting a picture there, Bill. The event sounds amazing. Really sounds like it's made such an impact throughout the community. Now, funds that are raised throughout this event go towards scholarships, literacy, and programs for kids. Can you share some of the specific ways that these dollars have made such an impact in recent years?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, because as we speak, 10 backpacks are full of supplies are going to Gretzko right now. And tomorrow's their principal.
Oh, it looks like that we have. Oh, no, we're all set. Sorry about that, Bill. It looks like we had a brief audio issue. You were saying about what's going on with Gretzko.
So Wednesday is their principal and popsicles. And that's where you get your registration. You sign up for classes. You figure out what bus you're going to be. You sign up for after-school care and all that stuff. So we have 2 options: either give it to the principal and the assistant and then pass it out, or they're going to let us set up a table and we're going to pass them out. But the guy just left at 10 o'clock to go there to drop them off, and that's cool. It helps. Buying supplies is a lot of money, when you need it. And when you get into bigger grades, there's even more expense. You got to have headphones and all that other stuff. So, but that's one of the places things go. We just did our scholarships, and all the money was sent to the school to help them get classes. We had 2 winners this year, and one is going to Michigan State, and the other one's going to Oakland University. And we actually had a dinner at Gino's to invite their family and grandparents and brother and sisters, and congratulate them, give them awards, and to meet their family, and that was cool. And it seems like the grandparents like it the most. But so that went off well, and then we're in the process of our Halloween party. Last year we had an Abbott. We were wondering where all the Roosevelt kids went, and they're split between Scotch and Gretzko. So I don't know. That's one of the reasons we're going down there, figure out what we're going to do. But that's in the planning, and we always have a Christmas event. We get several families and have a Christmas dinner and presents and Santa Claus for them, and that's pretty cool. But that's as far as we've gone this year, with events up to Christmas party with Santa.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of fun, really fun events that are in the works for the next few months. For those just joining us right now on the Splash Live, I'm talking with Bill Bertakis from the Keego Optimist Club, talking about the annual Stake Out fundraiser that's going to be happening on Thursday, September 4th, very, very soon. Now, Bill, you just touched on this a little bit, but with school back in session around the same time that this event is taking place, how do you see this event tying into community spirit as we start to celebrate the fall?
Well, you know what? It's been a tough transition for us because we catered everything to Roosevelt, and now the Roosevelt kids are split, and that's got us heartbroken. And then Lisa Jennings retired. She was our go-to lady. Everything she touched turned to gold, and she retired. And then Rebecca over in public relations, she left, and so Now we got to go to Plan C, and we're just feeling that out. We lost relations with the middle school, and that was coming back, so we got to continue that because there's things we want to do. Well, since there's only one middle school now, and we want to keep that going. So, just like every charity, it's been tough. Getting a hold of the right people, and and then you don't want to step on other charities' toes with their events too. So, I think we all feel in the club that when we were younger, we had all this stuff available. All of it was free, and they don't have that opportunity. And we're trying to get some of it back a little bit. I remember I had a great childhood. I want them to have a great childhood.
Absolutely, and everything that you are doing, Bill, is going such a long way, and this event is certainly going to help in that. Real quick, Bill, last question before we wrap things up. What are your hopes for the future of the Stakeout and the Optimist Club's role in supporting local kids and families?
Well, we're going to do our annual things, and we have a fantastic oratorical contest. Our Lady of Refuge, 100% of the people have to be involved, and they as part of their curriculum, the Optimist oratorical, and then they make the seventh graders watch it. And when you have that many people, you get a great turnout. The person in first place is ready to go on Miss America or something. And what happened? I think happens when we have these contests and they win. They get a little greedy and want to win again. And when they go in the future, they don't want to take second place. They give it their all to take first place again. And that's the attitude we want with some of these kids, that to always do their best,
That's right. Always do your best and always put everything forward that you've got. Bill, thank you so much for joining us today here on the Splash Live.
Thanks for helping us with the fundraiser. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Always here to help. And the Stakeout event is going to be taking place on September 4th to benefit the entire community. It's sure to be a very, very fun night out in Clarkson. So we've got other big news for many kids and even some parents. It's the most dreaded 3 words of the summer: back to school. No! But it's a time of transition for kids all throughout Greater West Bloomfield, and a change from the ease of summer back into the grind of a long school year. So, how do we beat the anxiety of a new school year? Recently, Dr. Melanie Schwartz from Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness joined us on the Splash Live to give us some tips.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you on to talk about this. We're still, for some kids, a few weeks away as we're doing this on the live show today. And for others, they may be watching this in the days or even the day before the school year begins. So as we ease out of the summer and we get toward the first day of school, what are some steps that parents and kids alike can take to sort of wind down the summer and get into school mode?
Well, there's lots of things. I mean, we're doing it in my house right now. We're talking about it, making sure they're prepared, making sure they have their school supplies, making sure we're getting them back on a good sleep schedule, getting them into a little bit of a routine that they've been out of all summer. So, kind of scheduling their days a little bit more than they have been. They're going to bed whenever they feel like it, and kind of spending probably more time doing things that they're not going to be doing during the school year. So kind of getting them back into, well, at least for both my kids, actually, their sports have already started for the school year. So that's one thing that they've gotten back into already. So that's been helpful to kind of get them ready for school that starts in 2 weeks. Making sure they have their school supplies, taking them to go get those, if that's something that you do, helps them feel like they have a little bit more control. Talking about lunch, talking about what are they going to want to take in their lunch, helping them have a little bit more control in the situation, rather than, this is what's happening, this is where you're going, just deal with it. It's kind of giving them a little bit of the control in terms of helping them get more comfortable with the idea.
Yeah, getting into that different mode of a little less free time, a little less ability to move your schedule around as it is. It's a lot more rigid when you go into the school year. Dr. Schwartz, there's different levels of this too, because kids of all different ages are going to be beginning the school year, whether it's elementary, middle, high school, or even those that are going off to college, university, or other schools for the first time outside of their K-12 education. Let's begin with the younger kids, especially those that are going to be going into kindergarten or into the grades for the first time. They're going to be going into their regular school day in their entire life, be away from their parents. So how do you make that transition? What's some advice in that case for parents that can help their kids and for kids as they get into this new routine?
I think the nice thing that the schools do is that the year before, if you know what school you're going to, they do, offer the kids to come see the school, see the classrooms. And I think that helps. And then having a conversation with them during the summer about what did you like about your classroom? What are you excited about? What are you scared about? I think it also helps, obviously, with all grades, have the opportunity to go to school before school starts. I know my kids get it, the day before school starts, where they can, meet their teachers, go see where their locker is, go, kind of get the lay of the land. Again, if it's a new school, that's really important because it helps them, again, feel like they have a little bit more control if they know what the classroom is going to look like and who their teacher is, and kind of meet the other kids in the class ahead of time to decrease their anxiety about it, because it's all anticipation anxiety. Once they get there and they get settled, they're fine. It's just a matter of not knowing and just not knowing what to expect. So everybody's better if they know what to expect. So the more information you can kind of give the kids, age appropriately, about what is kindergarten like? What are you going to be learning this year? What are you excited to learn? What's that going to be like for them? That's what's going to help the kids adjust and be comfortable.
And especially for those younger kids going into school for the first time, it's that first extended period of time that they're away from their parents.
Yes.
And not just that, but on a regular basis too.
Right.
So for parents that are really close with their younger kids and they have those super strong bonds, what is some advice, especially in these days and weeks leading up to the first day, to help maybe separate that a little bit more and see, get the experience for those younger kids of maybe being away from the parents or being a little bit more independent in this way?
Mm-hmm. I mean, definitely, I think it's different for different kids. Some kids are just going to go off and be perfectly fine and not look back. And they're ready and they're excited to go. And then there's the kids who have a little bit more separation anxiety because they haven't been away from their parents yet. And that, I think it might be important to, if they have some friends, maybe take them over to their friends' houses and let them have a play date over there without you around, or take them over to a relative's house, same thing, without you around, just to kind of get a little bit more comfortable and adjusted to it. It's still not going to be the experience of school, but it's something if you're used to, being with the kids all day long, and it's something new. Obviously talking to them, always talking, always communicating with them. I will say that about any of these topics that we talked about today, making sure that you're talking to them. What are they afraid of? What are they nervous about? What's mom and dad going to be doing while they're at school? And maybe just don't make it too exciting because you don't want them to have any, FOMO. But talking about, again, really making a big deal about what they're going to be doing at school, meeting new people, learning. Just make it very exciting for them so it's a place that they want to go. Even if parents weren't big fans of school, making it a big deal for the kids, because that's what makes them excited and more ready to get out of the house and go.
Yeah, and making that transition as comfortable as possible for those kids going back. Maybe school's a little bit more of an uncomfortable environment for them at that age. Or, of course, we've been talking a lot about those going in for the very first time. Dr. Melanie Schwartz is with us from Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness as we get ready for going back to school in the 2025-2026 school year. We started with the younger kids. Let's go into the middle school kids now. This is a kind of a paradigm shift, sort of the biggest paradigm shift we see other than going in initially to school altogether. Now it's really the first time they get that little taste of independence. Maybe they're going to different classrooms more often. They're certainly going to be blended in with more kids from different schools than what they've been used to for the past 5, 6, 7 years. Before that, what's your advice on helping parents help their kids navigate that big change?
Interestingly enough, sixth graders are usually very excited to go to a different school. They're ready. They had their big send off in fifth grade. They're done. They're ready to move on. They're ready to be the big kids in, well, the youngest in a bigger school, but they're ready to be big kids in a different school. They're kind of their biggest anxiety generally is around all the new kids and making new friends and what that's going to be like. Kids don't often have too many issues with switching classes. They're excited about it. The elementary school's done a good job of kind of prepping them, and even again took them over to the middle school to see what it was like, and kind of they're ready to kind of have this new experience and be different from what elementary school was like. So most of these kids are very excited to go. Again, kids that don't like school, it's a little different of a story. Usually when there's a dislike of school, it's due to separation anxiety, fear of something's going to happen to the parents while they're gone, or grades are a struggle for them. But they do often, the thing when you ask those kids what they're excited about, it's about being able to see their friends. So, really hyping up the social piece of it all, even though I think everyone can agree, middle school is probably the most difficult years of the educational system socially, but the kids do get excited for it. So I personally haven't seen too many issues as part of the transition to middle school, because the kids are really, really excited about it. But again, as I've said before, I'll say it again, communicate with the kids. Ask them, even if they're not saying anything, even if they seem totally fine, just make sure you're talking to the kids. A lot of parents will say, well, if they're upset, I don't want to create some anxiety for them, so I don't want to talk about it. But it's more important to talk than not to talk. So just make sure, again, what are you excited about? What are you not excited about? How can I make it easier for you? What can we do ahead of time? So just so that the kids feel like they have more control, because that's what's going to make the transition easier for them.
And your kids, you've seen them from the day that they've been born until now. You know their mannerisms. Yep. Kind of when they're not feeling quite right, and you can sense that. Yep. Having those conversations is a great way to keep up with that. Dr. Schwartz, you made a really good point too, that middle school is kind of that most treacherous period of childhood, and from a school perspective, particularly on the social side. That can have a big impact on the kids, but that's also a really critical point for parents to have that involvement and have those conversations with their child or with their children, and be able to do their part to help them through that as well. What advice do you have for parents in terms of intervening, having those sort of conversations, and helping their kids navigate a really difficult time in their youth?
I would really try to be very involved. Okay. Not in the school, but with the kids during this time, because everyone's maturing at a different rate at this point. You have some kids who have, gone through puberty at this point, some who are just about to, some who, are somewhere in the middle. And it gets to be difficult for them emotionally, the kids emotionally, because they're growing at different rates and going through this critical time at such different rates. And emotionally, that has a strong impact on them. So making sure that you are very involved in knowing what they're doing, knowing what their thoughts are, knowing, how they're feeling, how they deal with their emotions, what's going on. If you feel like your kid is not opening up, is very closed off, doesn't want to talk to you, that's a good opportunity to talk to the school about them maybe talking to the social worker, or even maybe getting them into therapy, where they have someone outside the family who can talk to them and kind of get their feelings out, because it is a really hard time emotionally for these kids during that age range. And the most important thing is just going to be that they're talking and they feel like they can talk to somebody. Again, it doesn't have to be a parent, it doesn't have to be a sibling, it doesn't have to be a family member. Just make sure they're talking to somebody and being able to kind of work through whatever's going on during that time.
Dr. Melanie Schwartz is with us from Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness. More information and ways to get in contact with them, viewpointpw.com. As we talk about going back to school, very similar sort of transition between elementary to middle school to high school for kids, but something that maybe isn't looked over too much when you're talking about the psychology or the mental health perspective of going back to school. It's those older high school kids. They've been through the motions. They're used to this, especially those seniors going into their final year. They kind of know what's going to be going on in those last few months of their schooling. Maybe they have their future sort of planned out already. And it's easy for them to sort of lose their focus along the way. Many times we hear about senioritis when they get into that point of the year. So for parents, how do they help to keep their kids focused as they go into their last year of high school, which some look at as being maybe less critical than the other three before, but can really have a big impact on setting them up for going into their adult life?
So this is really tricky at that age, because they're going to push back. They think they know it all, and they don't want anyone telling them what to do, especially their parents when they're seniors. And parents are kind of knowing they still need to parent and they still need to navigate and kind of push the kids forward to get them to that finish line for whatever that looks like, if they're going to college or whatever that next step is for them. And it's kind of a struggle to figure out how to communicate effectively with the kids. So, there's different approaches to this. It could be completely hands off. You tell the kids, if they're going to college, what you have to do to get into the college that you want to get into, and have at it. And, be there for them if the kids need it, but let them kind of take the lead and prepare them for college a little bit, where you are going to be completely hands off. The other approach that I do see happen sometimes with, the kids who are struggling a bit more, and they do need kind of somebody to lead them and guide them, is, you want to be able to lead them, but again, it's also this struggle of hands off, because, they don't want to be told what to do. So it's kind of how you talk to them is really the key, not what you're saying to them. You're saying the same things to them. You're saying, hey, okay, this is what you have to do. This is when you have to do it. This is where you have to be. Whatever it is that you guys need to talk about, you have to get these grades. You have to, work on your college applications, all of those things. It's just a matter of how you're saying it to them. And if you're saying it to them in a very not controlling way, I guess would be the right way to say it, but kind of like, okay, here's your list. Let's look at it. Let's kind of go through it, but kind of stand a little bit more standoffish than maybe you have been in the past. Then they're going to be more likely to do it. None of these kids, seniors, do not want to be told what to do. They don't. So make sure how you are saying something is the most important. It's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. And I guess that's the key to kind of get through senior year, because they are really ready to go and get out of the house, and they're focused on college. And again, that senioritis thing does kick in probably more second semester than first semester, because they still got to get into college first semester. But it's there, and there might have to be a little bit of kind of just, I don't want to say walking on eggshells, because that's not, I don't want anyone ever walking on eggshells, but kind of just like how you approach it is key. So. Yeah,
kind of that point where you start to remove your hands from their shoulders, guiding them in the right direction, and kind of just walk alongside them, and occasionally give them a tap on the shoulder and say, hey, maybe a little bit more this way.
And just let them know you're always there for them. You are there to support them however they need it, but you got to step back a little bit to get them ready for that next stage.
Dr. Schwartz, we thank you for being with us. One last question for you. It's also a big time of transition for parents whose kids are now through high school. They're through their K-12 education. Maybe they're going into the workforce. Maybe they're going to a trade school. They're going to a college or university. That independence is pretty much up to about as close to 100% or at 100% for many of these kids. That's a big transition, particularly for the parents, on top of course, being one for the kids. So for parents that are experiencing this for the first time, letting one of their kids, maybe their only kid, out of the nest and into their own independent life, how do they navigate that transition in a way that is both beneficial, of course, to their child, but also isn't going to be necessarily a major source of anxiety for them that can take a toll on them as individuals or them as co-parents, but potentially as well?
I think, it's important to realize it's a grieving process.
Yeah.
So it usually starts senior year. And, once the kids get accepted into college, or they've discussed, what that next step is, and if they're going to trade school or they're starting a job, whatever it might be, or they're moving away, whatever it might be, that's when the grief process starts. And for parents to realize that it's a process, and, you know, acknowledge your emotions about it. That's key. Okay. When, because it's a complete transition that you haven't had for 18 years of this child's life. This is new, whether it's, you know, the first child or the last child, somewhere in between, it is still going to be a big change to your life of not having, you know, having a child who's now an adult and moving on and starting this new step where you are no longer that your parenting role changes. It looks completely different after that stage. And so talking about it with, you know, the co-parent, how are they feeling? How are you feeling about it? Talk to the kids. How do you want to be parented moving forward? Okay, because what you think it might look like versus what they expect it to be might look totally different. So have that conversation with the kids. As far as parents getting through it, if the kids who are going to college, and let's say you're an empty nester, it's going to be important for you to plan what your life is going to be like. Okay, what is that going to look like? How are you going to move forward without kids in the house? I think I've said this before in the past when we've talked about this, but my sister-in-law did this before, and she's done it every year now that she's an empty nester. She takes a trip once the kids are off to college. That way she's not sad. She's enjoying herself. She's going and doing her thing, and then she comes back and she can kind of reintegrate and figure it all out. But she did something enjoyable and can distract herself for a while instead of sitting at home and feeling sad that nobody's in the house right now, that's been great for her. So, you know, figuring out what activities are you going to, or hobbies or new things are you going to incorporate, and figuring out what is life going to be like without kids. If you're an empty nester, if, you know, it's one less child, your structure doesn't change that much. You still are going to be taking kids to school or whatever you have to do, and, you know, still parenting quite a bit. But it's still going to be different without the one child. Another thing, you know, have the conversation with your child if they're moving out. How often are you going to talk to them? Right now, you talk to them, I'm guessing, every day, right? Multiple times a day. But when they move out, how often do you expect to talk to them? Because that can be a factor too, where you're expecting to talk to your kid just as frequently, but the kid is like, oh, I'm good once a week, once a month, whatever it is. Have these conversations ahead of time so that you can prepare. Just like any other transition that's happening, going to school, as much as you can prepare, the better off everyone's going to be.
Got to get the kids ready to go back to school. Parents, got to get yourself ready to go back as well. Dr. Schwartz, always appreciate your advice, especially when we have something like this that has a careful balance for everybody involved going back to school. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Back to school is quickly approaching, so it's very, very important to have all of the necessary information before you step through those school doors again. So we really appreciate Dr. Schwartz for taking the time to talk with us here on the Splash Live. But with back to school coming up soon, that also means that football season is just a couple of weeks away. And the West Bloomfield Lakers begin their first practices very, very soon, dead set on redemption after an early playoff exit in 2024. Our own Tyler Kieft recently had a chance to speak with their coach, Zach Hilbers, to get some insight on what the game plan is for this upcoming season.
Welcome back to OAA Football Live. I'm Tyler Kieft, joined by West Bloomfield Lakers head coach Zach Hilbers. An exciting time of the year for all the teams here in the OAA, especially for your team coming back after a really competitive 2024 in the OAA Reds. So starting off, what do you build off of coming off of a season like that had its fair share of ups and downs, but was highly competitive in one of the toughest divisions in football?
Well, I think like anything else in life, I guess you kind of build off of the lessons you learned along the way. Not to be too cliche, but you know, I guess like the game always guarantees adversity and the ups and downs, kind of like life does. And we had our fair share of it, like you said. And hopefully we learned what it takes when you end up on top, and I guess what leads you to the results that you don't want at the same time. And our job as coaches and players is to obviously end up on the better side of that more often than not.
Having guys like Jeremiah, Travis, Tank, having them all here today, you kind of mentioned in your speech that they've been through all these ups and downs. They've seen being a step away from the pinnacle and seeing the agony of having a second-round exit against a really good Catholic Central team.
Yeah.
How have they taken a step forward leadership-wise heading into another season?
Well, like a lot of kids do their senior year, they kind of realize the finality of things, and I guess, for lack of a better term, like the ultimatum that you're kind of pressed against, like this is your shot to do things the way you want to do it. And they're taking kind of ownership of that, and they've really been good leaders for us in the offseason.
Consistency is always something you're looking for in the season. Last season, you had sort of an issue of you'd pick up one new skill and then you pick up another problem, and that kind of went back and forth. How do you skip over that and change that habit in 2025?
Well, you hope it's something that experience kind of gives you in a way. Those kids that have been through the ups and the downs, they kind of help you navigate that with the rest of the team. Because it's really not talent often that has the best teams. Coach Petrito, I think, mentioned that. It's the kids that can kind of navigate the seas a little bit, and the ebbs and flows that the game of football will give you. And hopefully our experience does that for us.
You had mentioned in the packet that was given to the media, offensively, something you're kind of looking at as possibly a bit of an issue, but something that you're working on is massive loss of talent from last year, is in particular in the skills position. I was crunching the numbers, and about 80% of your receiving yards were between three players last season, over 60% of the team's touchdowns. So how do you work to replace that kind of production, especially starting with those guys that were in the mix like Obi Duru and Malcolm Gibson last season?
Well, to be honest, I'm surprised it's only 80% if you do the numbers, because like if I would have gone off the top of my head between Elijah, Cam, and Jaden Alos, I would have guessed it was above 90. But yeah, so I mean, like you mentioned, Obi and Malcolm, they're both really good players, and they were good enough to play a lot last year. They were just behind kids that were really good. So I think, they're pretty hungry, and some of the kids that are coming up from the younger levels, they're pretty talented, and they're ready and eager to kind of show what they can do as well. So you're right, like that's definitely a question mark when you graduate a receiver like Elijah Durham, who set every program record we have. And then Cameron Flowers and Jaden Alos and all the other talent they had out there. It was pretty special. But it doesn't mean the guys that are waiting their turn aren't pretty special too.
The Lakers last season graduating a number of offensive weapons. You mentioned Elijah Durham. He's the all-time leader in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns, single season yards, and he got that record twice in single season yards in his first and second, only 2 years on the varsity squad for Elijah Durham. The quarterback situation, something people are going to be thinking about going into 2025. Last year, most of the reps, Bo Jackson, a little bit of Jamal Shakespeare. You mentioned before last season, Jackson Carver was an up-and-comer. Are we going to be seeing kind of a mixed quarterback room, or are you set on the guy yet?
We always have a bunch of guys that take snaps. It's kind of always been our MO. You can go back 10 years. There's always 4 to 5 guys that'll take snaps at quarterback. It'll probably be more of the same of that. But you're right. Like Bo Jackson was the ultimate teammate, perfect competitor. He was a tremendous high school football player and a great kid. But Jamal still played a lot of quarterback as well, and so did Brody Pecor and some other kids. And it'll probably be similar. Like Jackson, we thought last year was really coming along and really impressive, and he broke his collarbone in kind of a freak injury. So I know he's pretty hungry and eager to show what he can do. But so are some of the other kids. So we'll always have, I guess, a mixed bag at that position.
Benefit of having a high power offense and going against other high power offenses, you can score a lot of points. Big benefit for your team looking forward to this season. You got a ton of talent and a ton of ability coming back on the defensive side of the football. Looking at your competition in and outside of the division this season, how big of a plus is that?
Oh, it's huge. Anytime you get experience on one side of the ball, ideally you want both, but you get it on one side of the ball, it just becomes so much easier. Like it's not just teaching; they kind of help spread your message throughout everybody else, and they know what to expect mentally and physically. So, we're really looking for them to kind of carry us early on and hope everybody else kind of catches up.
What's your message for your team and for Laker Nation as they head into this 2025 season? Always going to be a tough schedule, always going to have its ups and downs. What's it going to take for this Laker team to get back to where everyone's expecting them to be playing late in November?
Just the mental perseverance that it takes. Things aren't always going to go your way. Of our 11 games last year, we were leading at some point in 10 of them, but we only won 5. So kind of just finishing the job and navigating that a little bit better and trying to stay hard mentally.
August 28th, 7 o'clock kickoff at Lakers Stadium. It's a Thursday night game, family fun night, as well as we kick off the 2025 season. More information on Laker football all season long on your home for Lakers sports, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Coach, thanks again.
Thank you.
It's going to be a fun night and an incredible season for the West Bloomfield Lakers. But that's going to do it for us today here on the Splash Live. Big thank you to all of our guests and for everybody on the Splash Live team for helping to make this fantastic show possible. I've been your host, Jake Schaff. Live, local, social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.